So before getting into Zappos, I want to talk about what led me to Zappos. And the story actually begins with pizza. In college, I was running a pizza business with my college roommate, and we were in charge of everything. We were investing in ovens and hiring workers, deciding what the menu was, dealing with suppliers, and occasionally I was actually making the pizzas myself. And this guy named Alfred, who is actually the CFO and COO of Zappos today, he would stop by every night and buy a large pepperoni pizza from me. And this wasn't actually that weird because we all knew he could eat a lot. He even had, we would go out late night at Chinese restaurants and there'd be 10 of us, and he would literally finish everyone's leftovers. It was crazy. And so we had nicknames for him like Monster or Human Trash Compactor. And so sometimes he would, so it wasn't that weird he was buying a large pizza, but then sometimes he would come back a few hours later and buy another large pepperoni pizza. And I was just thinking, wow, this boy can really eat. Well, I found out several years later, he was actually taking the pizzas upstairs and selling them off by the slice. That's why he's our CFO and COO today. So after the pizza business, the same roommate I was running the pizza business with, he and I got together and formed a company called Link Exchange. This was back in '96, and we grew that to 100 or so people and ended up selling the company to Microsoft in 1998. But what a lot of people don't know is the reason why we ended up selling the company, and it's because the company culture just went completely downhill. And I remember, it got to the point where I myself dreaded getting out of bed in the morning to go to the office, and that was kind of a weird feeling because this was a company I co-founded, and if I myself felt that way, I wondered how the other employees felt. We hired all the right people in terms of skill sets and experiences, but we didn't know any better to pay attention to company culture, and that was probably that was a really tough lesson to learn. So after selling the company to Microsoft, Alfred and I got together and formed an investment company, and we invested in about 100 or so different internet companies, and we were actually based out at the AMC 1000 Van Ness movie theaters here in San Francisco. And Alfred and I lived on the 7th floor, and actually my parents ran the restaurant downstairs called Venture Frogs Restaurant. And we had a movie theater there, and at the time there was a gym there, Crunch. And then the first level, part of the first level and also part of the second floor, we actually ran an incubator. And Zappos was one of those companies that we invested in and eventually wound up in the incubator. Over the course of a year, though, I realized that for me, investing was actually pretty boring. I didn't really enjoy being on the sidelines. I really missed being part of building something. And so basically within a year or so, I ended up joining Zappos full time, and I've been with Zappos ever since. Some of you probably heard last July we announced Amazon was acquiring Zappos. The deal actually closed in November, but this acquisition is actually very different from most acquisitions that Amazon has done, or even most acquisitions that any company has done. Because most acquisitions, at least at Amazon, what they do is they acquire the company and then integrate it into Amazon. But for us, when we talked to Amazon, before we even started the conversation of whether this was something we wanted to pursue, we told them actually the prerequisite for even beginning conversations is that we want to remain independent. We want to continue growing the Zappos brand our way and continue growing the Zappos culture, which is different from the Amazon culture, and continue running our business our way. And so they agreed to that, and the deal closed November 1st, and so basically it's as if we swapped out our board of directors for a new one. So we fly up to Seattle once a quarter and have the equivalent of a board of directors meeting, and it's been great. They've stayed true to their word and left us independent. So most people, when they hear about Zappos, they think of us as an online shoe retailer because that's how we started. Really just our goal in the beginning was let's just have the biggest selection of shoes on the internet. Well, internally, we think of ourselves pretty differently. We're actually hoping 10 years from now, people won't even realize we started out selling shoes online. In fact, today we sell a lot more than shoes. We sell clothing, beauty products, even kitchenware, housewares. And internally, we have a saying that we're a service company that just happens to sell shoes. And we're hoping not only will they not realize 10 years from now that we started out selling shoes online, But it doesn't even have to be limited to just shoes. We've had customers email us and ask us if we could please start an airline or run the IRS. And we're not going to do either of those things this year, but 20 or 30 years from now, I wouldn't rule out a Zappos Airlines that's just about the very best service and very best customer experience. So one brand we look to for inspiration sometimes is Virgin, because they're in a whole bunch of different businesses. They're in music and airlines and so on. The difference is the Virgin brand is more about being hip and cool, whereas we just want to be about the very best customer service. So our philosophy about marketing is actually pretty different from most other companies. Our philosophy is, let's take most of the money that we would have spent on paid advertising or paid marketing, and instead invest it into the customer experience and let the customers do the marketing for us through word of mouth. And on any given day, about 75% of our orders are from repeat customers. And over the years, we've grown from basically no sales in 1999 to in 2008, and we hit $1 billion in gross merchandise sales, and we continue to grow. Actually, Q1, in terms of year-over-year growth, we actually grew almost 50% quarter-over-quarter. So we're pretty excited about that. And the number one driver of this growth has been through repeat customers and word of mouth. So these are some of the questions that we ask ourselves when we think about what it means to deliver great customer service. What do customers expect? And then what do they actually experience? And we think a lot about the emotions that customers feel. And how do we create stories and memories for our customers? So in terms of what is customer service, it begins with what you see on our website when you come to visit. It's free shipping both ways. A lot of customers will try on 10 different pairs of shoes, try them on the comfort of their living room with 10 different outfits, and then just ship back the ones that they don't like or they're not happy with. We have a 365-day return policy for anyone, I guess people that have trouble committing or making up their minds. And our 1-800 number actually is, we take a very different approach in terms of customer service, in terms of just thinking about contact. Customer service is an expense or is it an investment? So most websites, it's very hard to find contact information. It's usually very 5 links deep, and it's an email address that you can only email once and you can't reply to if you get a response back. Well, we take the exact opposite approach because we actually want to talk to our customers. We put our 1-800 number at the top of every single page of our website. And it's funny because sometimes I'll be speaking at a branding or marketing conference, and there's a lot of discussion of consumers being bombarded with thousands and thousands of marketing messages every day. How to get your brand to stand out? How to get your message to stand out? And as kind of low-tech and unsexy as it may sound, the telephone is actually one of the best branding devices out there because you have the consumer's undivided attention for 5 to 10 minutes. And if you get the interaction right, we found that customers remember that for a very long time and tell their friends and family about it. So for us, customer service isn't this thing that isn't this department, or call center isn't this department where we're trying to minimize expenses. Instead, what we're trying to do is really think about it from a branding lens. What can we do with that every time a customer calls so that we build our brand one phone call at a time to be about the very best customer service? And because of that, we run our call center very differently from most call centers. Most call centers have scripts. We don't have scripts. Most call centers try to upsell to try to pay for that cost, and we don't upsell. And most call centers have this concept called average handle time, which is all about efficiency. How many customers can each rep talk to in a day, which translates into how quickly can you get the customer off the phone. And for us, we don't think that's great customer service. In fact, because we don't measure our call times in, we don't even, every rep is trained so that if a competitor is looking for, or if a customer is looking for a shoe that, let's say we're out of stock in their particular size, everyone's trained to look on at least 3 competitor websites. If they find the shoe on a competitor website in stock, to actually direct the customer to that competitor. And obviously we lose that transaction, but we're not trying to maximize every single transaction. We're trying to build a lifelong relationship with our customers.